eat, but how is it processed by the body. And interestingly, fat and protein gets into the bloodstream very, very slowly. So fat and protein do not contribute to weight gain unless you just completely, totally stuff yourself every day. So now we will talk about blood sugar and how it works. So you have a diagram here on slide 8, and we want to see if we can illustrate this. Here is the amount of blood sugar, and here is a very narrow band. And this is right around 100 milligrams of blood sugar per liter. Now, what happens in the body if your blood sugar goes significantly below or significantly above? We can get in what's called a diabetic coma. You literally, physically get into a coma. Your brain stops working if you get very far outside of this zone, either above or below. So that means this is where the body wants to be, and when anything gets far away from it, it's an emergency. It's life-threatening for the body. So this is very, very high priority for the brain. Glucose, blood sugar, is the primary fuel for the brain. It can really only use, it can use a little bit of ketone bodies and so forth, but glucose is really the only fuel that the brain uses. So it's very important for the brain to function for us to have a normal level. And again, the brain stops functioning if we get above or below. So if we eat, let's say that we are starting around the lower end of this 100 and we get hungry. And we eat a meal, a hunter-gatherer meal. We catch ourselves a rabbit and we find some roots and some leafy greens and we make ourselves a meal. That meal is going to be digested because it's protein, because it's whole food, lots of fiber, good stuff. It will be absorbed very slowly into the bloodstream. So over the next few hours, the blood sugar rises very, very slowly. And we'll say this is 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Now remember, we have to use insulin to get the sugar out of the blood and into the cell. Because this is of no use to the body until we can get it into the cell. So now we secrete insulin. The pancreas, which sits right around here, releases insulin, and the insulin takes the sugar out of the blood. So once we have a certain amount of insulin, the blood sugar will start falling again, and it will go back down. And then the body has some reserves, so the body can maintain it within this level for quite some time. So this is what the body wants. This is what whole foods and real food and food with fiber and protein and fat does. But that's not what we eat anymore. How much sugar do we have in the bloodstream at any given time? 100 milligrams of blood sugar per deciliter multiplied by the volume of blood that you have in your body means that you have in your bloodstream at any given time 5 grams of sugar. That's it. 1 teaspoon of sugar is all you want in your bloodstream at a time. That's all your brain can handle. So going from the lower end of this to the upper end of this is about a span of 20 milligrams of sugar. That's 1 gram. That is how much your blood sugar can fluctuate before it becomes a reason for your body to respond and change it, before it becomes an emergency, if you will. It's not getting a little bit outside, it's not really an emergency, but the body will respond. It'll try to keep it within this level, which is about 1 gram difference. So that's 1/5 of a teaspoon. How much sugar is in a Coke? 40. Okay? So if your body can only fluctuate, if your blood sugar can fluctuate 1 gram and you dump in 40 grams of something that will be absorbed in 15 minutes, do you think that's a bit of a stress to the body? Because it's never in the history of mankind has it been exposed to 40 grams of liquid sugar that just goes rushing straight into the bloodstream. So this is what happens with real food. Now I'll just draw on top of this. Now let's say that you have a cup of coffee with a little sugar in it, and you have donuts and Coca-Cola or apple juice for breakfast. So now your blood sugar, let's say that this is 100, 200, 300, 400. Your blood sugar can very, very quickly get up to about 300-400, and it will do it even faster than this. It'll happen in 15-20 minutes. Remember we said this is an emergency? What has to happen? What is the body going to do about this emergency? It's going to release a lot of insulin, exactly. And because this is an emergency, it's not going to hold back. It's going to dump all the insulin it can, basically, to try to get this craziness under control. So with this much insulin in the bloodstream, assisting the sugar getting into the cells, how quickly is the blood sugar going to drop? Almost instantaneously. It's going to drop as fast as it came up. So the blood sugar comes crashing down, and then it gets to the normal level of 100. Do you think with this much insulin and going down at this rate, do you think it's going to stop smoothly right around 100 and flatten out? It's going to keep going. It's going to keep going. And then eventually it'll taper off, because now we have an emergency on the other side. So what is this called? What's the name for this place when your blood sugar is really low?
Hypoglycemia?
Hypoglycemia, exactly. What does it feel like when you have hypoglycemia?
Very sluggish.
Sluggish, irritable, cranky, and what do you get? Cravings. Why do you get cravings? Because this is very unhealthy. The brain doesn't work. So the brain says, give me some fuel quickly. And what's the fastest source? More Coca-Cola. More sugar, more starch, more juice. Give me something quick so that I can come back to life. So then you have some other snack or a muffin or something, and up it goes, and then it shoots back down and up and down. People who have hypoglycemia, they really cannot develop hypoglycemia without this mechanism. This is the cause of hypoglycemia. It's the roller coaster, the craziness of all these swings in blood sugar. Okay? So, one more little footnote. What happens to all of these calories that you ingested? Remember we said when they're ingested into the bloodstream faster than you can burn it, and then all this insulin shoves them out into the cell, but less than an hour has passed, and in that hour, you've only burned about 100 calories. So the excess has to be converted to fat. So even though you've converted all these calories to fat, you're still having cravings, because the reverse process is too slow, and your body needs, your brain needs this fuel fast. So it's going to tell you, give me some more sugar, give me some more blood sugar. Okay? So this is the devastating roller coaster that's the foundation of developing diabetes, and virtually half